Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Kavita, and I'm thrilled to welcome you all to Women in Marketing presented by CMO First. We believe the world of marketing has never been more exciting or more complex, and some of the sharpest minds navigating that complexity happen to be women. Today's session is truly special. We are actually starting off our new Dream series, and part of this Dream series is where we sit down with inspiring women in marketing, not just to talk shop, but to celebrate their journeys, their thinking, and the spark they bring to this ever evolving industry. We're joined by Aditi Uppal, who brings a rich mix of global experience, regional insights, and on ground marketing leadership currently at Teradata. She is the Vice President of Digital Marketing and Driving Demand Generation. She has previously worked across multiple different industries, so she brings a varied approach and a lot of experience to this podcast. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to Aditi. Thank you so much, Aditi, for joining me today. I am very excited about us having this conversation, and I'll let you do a little quick intro of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kavita, for the lovely introduction. And I am very excited and honored to be on this podcast and speaking with like-minded individuals. As you know, marketing and leadership are two of my, biggest passions and have driven my growth, both as a person, as well as a professional. So, super excited to be here, to be listening and, and sharing ideas and learning from each other. Like you already said, I have more than 10 years of experience in the world of marketing, I would say ranging across industries, ranging across countries. So really starting, my career in India, jokingly saying selling engine oil to truck drivers, as they say, or the transportation backbone of India, to now really leading the same, but selling to our customers, really understanding who our customers are, their pain points are, but then doing it, the channel that they're most active in, and that's most relevant to them, which is right now in the world of digital. So it's been an exciting, interesting journey with its highs and lows, but never without learning. And that's what I love, love about my journey, and in fact, about a lot of journey of women leaders. So, thank you.
So much, Aditi, and this is exactly the reason why we wanted someone like you with your experience, on our first Dream Series podcast. And yeah, I mean, we're very excited to get into a conversation. So without further ado, grab your coffees, guys, and if it's gone cold, then get a refill because it's about to get a lot more fun. So I'm going to start off with something that's a little bit more personal and simple. First, Aditi, just what actually drew you to the world of marketing? Because it's always interesting to understand the journey that people have gone through in order to land where they are at the moment in their career path. And was it a planned move, or was it just something that you just ended up finding along the way as you were just kind of like navigating your career?
Oh, that's a great story. Um, I would say I I I knew what I wanted to do at a base level, a basic level. I just didn't know the term marketing. So I was like a lot of Indians, of my generation, pursuing an engineering education, engineering degree. And certainly, I was evaluating what's my next move. How am I going to apply what I'm learning in the classroom? And I couldn't really see how what I was learning is going to translate into what I'm going to do, and how do I apply. And as part of one of the events, we were organizing a college fest back then, and I was responsible for. driving sponsorships and really leading the event, organizing the event. And that's when, I got my first taste of talking to customers, and influencing customers, really understanding what they need, how we can meet their needs in the best possible way. So I knew back that I knew then that I do not want to pursue, further in my current stream of education, and that probably management is more of my thing. And then when I got into the management college, as we were learning more, about, okay, what is, finance, and what is marketing, the true spirit and the basic foundations of marketing, I could then relate, because for me, and that has always been the thing, is keeping customers at the center of whatever you are doing, because in the end, your product, your service, whatever it is that you're selling, is to meet a need, of your customer, of a market. So whatever brings me closest to that, see ideas, and in action, and getting true feedback from the customers, and the joy that you get when you see something working so well, a product that just does so well and gets such great feedback and such great satisfaction scores. That's when I knew that I wanted to be a marketer.
I mean, that is such a fascinating journey from engineering to marketing. I think I haven't even heard that before. So, wow, first of all. And I know that I missed out the fact that you're a Wharton graduate as well. I mean, what a great elite school to actually end up in. So, congratulations to you as well for being a Wharton alumni. And I'm sure that part of your journey also, probably shaped you into the marketing leader you are today. No doubt about that. So jumping into the next question, Aditi, we've been discussing, in the industry quite a lot lately, especially with companies coming to us for content and all these things. With 2 out of 3 B2B decision makers now being millennials or Gen Z, how are you basically building, campaigns, or, influencing messaging, or what certain platforms are you using in order to really connect with this particular group and generation? Because obviously, it's a very different dynamic that you're having to now deal with multiple generations where they're all decision makers.
Yeah, I think that this generational shift is fundamentally altering how we engage with buyers. And especially if I look at millennials, Gen Zs, they expect relevance, they expect speed, and more importantly, they expect authenticity, which means that our campaigns must be, highly personalized. As an example, mobile first, considering how much time they spend, on mobile. And certainly digitally native, because that's their expectation, right? That's how they've grown up, amongst those channels, and with that thought process of getting information quickly, and irrespective. I think that's the biggest difference I see. Irrespective of if they are shopping, for personal needs or professional needs, they are expecting the same level of trust. They're expecting that same level of, like I said, authenticity. And so that's why, and the other important thing is they are looking at the same channels that they're using for, personal decisions as they're exploring, like a TikTok. That's where they spend most of their time. And their expectation is that, however, whatever they're required to make a decision for, or they're being influenced for, that, companies or brands engage with them, in that format, in that channel. So that's where I think is the biggest shift. in my view, your messaging needs to be really purpose-led, and not just, I would say, product-led. So, platforms like Reddit or YouTube, I've talked about, TikTok as an example, are becoming visible and, viable and critical entry points, especially if you think about, in the early discovery exploration, stages or phases of that buying journey. So, um, gone are the days when your campaigns, you can rely on your campaigns, with the static nurture tracks or just very generic call to actions. They are not going to resonate. And instead, you really need, dynamic content experiences that mirror, consumer grade digital journeys. I think that's what is going to win attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot agree with you more. And that's a great answer, actually, because a lot of people, they kind of like, they know, but they don't really understand how different these generations are. And as you touched on it, now there's more platforms available, digital platforms where they're kind of engaging with content in on TikTok or Instagram and social media. And these are things that were not around like, 10, 15 years ago. They weren't actually as popular. So, marketers are really having to now realize that you still got the older generation that doesn't go on those platforms. So how do you really engage with your buying group and the decision makers that are buying into your products and services and still be spread across so many different like, places. So that's that. Yeah. I mean, you nailed that. By the way, something that a lot of people can learn from, especially from your experience as well. So we can't talk about, obviously content and generations being, buying groups having different generations without touching on the AI topic, which is very, very much a buzzword in the industry. So that's where my next question is leading to. So we've all been exploring generative AI in marketing, but now there's buzz around agentic AI, which doesn't actually just suggest, it actually acts. So curious to know how your thoughts, obviously, on this, and do you see a real use case for that kind of automation in your marketing world, or do you just think it's just another fancy buzzword?
Um, I don't think it's a fancy buzzword. I do think it's a buzz, or it's becoming a buzzword, and that's just because there is just so much noise or buzz around this. It's important to understand what is it, truly, what does that mean if you have to, think deep and slice or like remove the layers, right, and get down to basically what does generative AI help you do, or now agentic AI, and that's a different thing about how memes around agentic AI versus AI agent, and how marketers or anyone really gets confused about the two. But it's really getting down to what's the potential that this technology has. And there has been just a lot of experimentation, which is the right way to really think about, looking at this technology and the impact or the possible impact that AI can have, or generative AI can have in marketing. I also want to say that it's not completely new. In the world of marketing, there have been certain use cases where marketers have been dabbling, in this area of generative AI. Just and, as an example, chatbots, right, and how they started, and then of course, for a lot of vendors or platforms selling chatbot and the potential, they were looking at the agentic or the generative, which is the more autonomous piece, as the premium, kind of a feature, which just now means that it's table stakes, or the expectation is that it needs to be table stakes. But I think agentic AI has that potential, or generative AI has this potential to shift marketing, from assistive to autonomous, which I think just gives marketers this great opportunity and this great opportunity to explore areas where they shine the best. So really taking away their time and energy from managing, tactical tasks, to something which, marketers should truly shine at, which is really going back and looking at all the data that you have and the insights that you have, thinking about what is it that they are putting out in the market, right? Like thinking about a more interconnected, as an example, strategy. And guilty myself, guilty. I a lot of times never got a chance, to do that, to really say, well, have I 100% thought about it? And have I 100% thought about the why, the what, right? I probably focused a lot more on the how of it. So imagine, a campaign agent that not only analyzes performance data, but autonomously reallocates budget and generates new set of creatives and even A/B tests messaging without human intervention. I mean, that's just going to give marketers so much time back, from the constant conversations and influencing the creative teams and working with the agencies and say, well, can we create like 5 new creatives versus 10 new creatives or 5 new copies? But then again, going back to what are we putting in the market, right? So in B2B, I would also say specifically in the world of B2B, this could revolutionize our always on programs or like our always on campaigns where micro optimizations across channels are too granular or too frequent for humans alone, right? But the important thing will be, or the key for this to really be powerful and impactful will be governance and trust. So ensuring how these agents and this technology can operate within that Brian compliance parameters while learning safely. So that's what this is certainly not a buzzword, or it probably is a buzzword, but it's revolutionizing how the world is operating, and the world will operate down the line.
So, with 89% of B2B buyers reportedly using Gen AI tools as part of their, decision making, how do you think that changes the way we approach the buyer journey now? Like, do you think that's actually changed it or influenced it?
Oh, it's a seismic shift. Like we said, buyers are no longer just passively consuming, content. They're really co-creating, right? So they are asking Gen AI tools like ChatGPT and Claude and others to summarize white papers and compare vendors and even I would say, draft RFPs, which means that our content must be AI readable and structured for retrieval, right? Semantic clarity, metadata, embedded insights will matter as much as the headline of your content. And that's where when you talk about, there's a lot of work and again, experimentation happening in the world of search, especially the generative, optimization work that's currently happening. I also think we need to rethink the funnel. So usually how we operate is it's a linear journey. Buyers going from awareness to awareness, consideration, decision, purchase. It's never been a linear journey. I think for our sakes of simplicity, we try to make that to be linear. But buyers jump, and they will jump from awareness to decision probably in minutes, or come back right from decision to probably discovering more if the AI tool accelerates their research, and it will. And I think that's where the new content strategy must focus on. It must focus on clarity. It must focus on discoverability. It must focus on answerability. Um, and most importantly, like I mentioned, that message um, needs to be purpose driven. So that it can get their attention, it can hold the buyer's attention, for what they're talking about. So I think that's how I think we need to approach our buyer's journey. I mean, we have, I think, always known in the back of our minds that it's never linear, but now we have the tools or the technologies to really empower and enable us to help customers drive and in this non-linear journey, and how we can support them in their journey.
Absolutely, yeah. When I've seen that journey as well from a different perspective, like when you're looking at the intent tools and you see buying behaviors, and you do see people jumping back and forth like that. One minute they're in the awareness stage, and you're like, yep, the keywords, the propensity looks like they're moving into consideration, but they actually jump into buying very quickly, or vice versa, where they're in consideration and they go back to awareness. So it's never linear, as you said, and it's always good to keep that in mind when you are doing any kind of like activity, just to make sure that you're mapping it out in a way where you're keeping it fluid, right, rather than thinking it's linear. Yeah. So we're seeing a big rise in executive branding and influencer style storytelling, even in B2B. How do you perceive this?
How should I put this? It's the humanization of enterprise. The decision makers, or I would say anyone, and including you and me, and others who are listening to this, we want to understand and we want to connect with the why and the who behind the brand, right? Not just the product. And I think I'll probably also, put the the onus on us, because I think we always had this opportunity. When you learn branding, you always look at brand as this other person, right, who has their own brand identity and brand values, but some and yeah, and I think, but somewhere, down, in this journey of our evolution as marketers, we just forget that. Maybe, for some other goals, chasing more pipeline, or chasing, maybe short-term goals. I think we've neglected this aspect. So, um, this is, now probably triggered by the new generation coming in the market, or the availability of tools and technologies. But we're going back to what we should have been doing all along, which is really connecting with the why and the who behind the brand. And so executive branding, that's what it does. It, helps convert or translate your company's strategy into stories people can trust. And that's what, that's why the term executive branding, probably is the way it is. It's basically the leaders, and people who know about the company, who know about the DNA and that spirit of the brand, really talking about it, in their own version, in stories that people can relate to. And I think the other thing which is more important is, or we're seeing more, is B2B buyers. They follow users, right? They follow operators. Not just brands, right? They want to see, all right, what is the community talking about it? How are my fellow users or fellow operators, decision makers, really looking to do this differently, or trying to solve this problem that I have. And that's why, and that's the other thing, in community building and community marketing, so to speak, is again, we are seeing a big rise in that, and as we should. And that's where I think, a part of it is influencer storytelling, when done with authenticity and when done with substance, can really help brands cut through the noise. And the future of B2B influence is going to be a blend of subject matter expertise, relatability, and consistent visibility.
Yeah, absolutely. And like any good story, right? It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? And it actually gets the reader to go through a journey with the author and really invest in that story. And I think when you've got marketing campaigns running in silos with different vendors, it's very, very difficult to really tell a full story. It becomes very sketchy and very, the messaging isn't clear enough for them to really build the who, the what, the how, right? So, I think going back and peeling back to that sort of storytelling, proposition is quite a game changer as well, because it means that marketers are now going to have to look at it as a whole picture rather than letting it be a siloed approach, because you want it to kind of almost evolve like a story like that you're reading, and invest into that company like you would in the characters of a book, right? Now got one more question left, and that's then we're going to move on to something a little bit more fun. So the last question that we've got is: in a world where tools and trends evolve by the day, what's one marketing trend or practice that you believe will stay relevant?
Its voice of customer will stay relevant irrespective of where we evolve and how awesome we are in this world supported with AI. Customer understanding, I think, just never will change, right? Tools will change, channels evolve, AI will revolutionize execution, but the brands that win will always be those who understand their customers' pains, needs, context, and aspirations better than anyone else. Everything else, strategy, creative, technology, should be in service of that insight. So I think that ability to truly listen, adapt, and then deliver value will remains timeless.
Yeah, no, that's actually amazing. Voice of customer for me is also timeless as well. I think that's the only thing that is going to definitely stay relevant. Everything else will change and evolve and become bigger or more extravagant. But I think that's one simple thing that will always remain like the thing that everyone just goes back to. So that's great. That's our main questions completed on the podcast, and now we're going to move on to something a bit more fun. It's been great hearing from you, Aditi, and you've given some really meaningful answers to the questions that we've obviously gone through, and having your point of view on this podcast has been a game changer, honestly, especially coming from your background and your experience. And I'm sure even our audience feels the same way as well, and they're gonna get so much value from this as well, from all your answers. So the rapid fire round is basically just I'm gonna say one word or phrase, and you just need to just say the first thing that comes to your head. So no overthinking, just the first thing that comes to mind when I say these words. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So the first one is GPT.
Revolutionary.
Excellent. Industry events,
Intentional.
social media,
A need.
and Gen Z.
Future.
Love it. Love those answers. And now I am going to switch it up a little bit. So this or that, right? LinkedIn or Instagram?
This is, I guess, Instagram. You need to have some fun in life.
I love it. Yes. Oh gosh. Work from home or work from the office?
I think you need to have an answer of both, but I'll go for work from home.
Yeah, because yeah, same here. Memes or blogs?
Oh, memes. Memes, all the way. Memes.
All the way. Yeah. PowerPoint or Excel?
Excel. No doubt. It has to be Excel.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I agree. No doubt. And Monday or Friday?
I think I'll go with Friday. Yeah, yeah. I like Thursday better than Friday, but Friday over over a Monday.
I love that. Oh God. So that was actually super fun, by the way. I'm glad that we got to end it on a really fun note. And thank you so much for playing along, Aditi, and also for sharing your journey and just experience and everything that you've answered with such authenticity and transparency. Love that. I'm
Thank you, Kavita.
Oh, thank you as well. And I'm sure that even our viewers are going to love this and take away some sort of insights from it that they can, take into their day job and, find some way of, making their daily lives at work a lot more easier. So yeah, experience is knowledge, right? And knowledge is everything. It's knowledge is power. So for us, it's like, anyone that can share that journey that they've gone through is a great thing for us. Thank you so much, Aditi.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, and I can't wait for us to keep the conversation going with other women in marketing. But you are the first one, so thank you for joining us in our dream series. We really appreciate that.
Thank you, Kavita, for having me again and for this amazing conversation. I'm honored. Thank you.
So, yeah, guys, until next time, take care. And yeah, thank you for joining us today.